hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. And counsel apparently was unable to produce an outside counsel to come and brief this commission as to the status of litigation on 2 weeks' notice. I don't know, I never got an explanation as to why that didn't happen. So clearly there's certain actions that the general counsel is not taking, but yet certain actions that she is taking. And during a briefing last week on September 18th, I believe it was, I was advised by Ms. Barrett that there was a new investigation that had been undertaken. Actually, I asked her about it because I had heard through the grapevine there was some investigation that had been undertaken. And I asked Ms. Barrett, General Counsel Barrett, who's running this investigation? And what is it? And she said it was Bob Bittman of McGuire Woods out of DC. And notably, at the prior board meeting on September 12th, we had a lengthy discussion with regard to the need to stop the infighting, to stop what's happening at the system in which there's the constant tension between the general counsel and executive management, and even tension now at the board level, which has interfered with the ability of this board to do its work. And everyone agreed that is the objective. But nonetheless, about 6 days later, I was advised that there is in fact an investigation ongoing, which was not authorized by the Board of Commissioners, and of which the Board of Commissioners had no notice. And that is one item in your letter with which I do take issue, and which you referenced. You appear to reference Ms. Gregoire, Commissioner Gregoire, providing some type of information to the board with regard to this this investigation. But that never happened. So that is one item that is in your letter of September 21st, which I do believe is not correct. I spoke to Mr. Bob Bittman of McGuire Woods on September 20th, and I asked him, what is this investigation that you're undertaking? As a board, we have no notice of this. He said he was to review the issues and the response and the allegations relative to the July 23rd report of the IRO. He said he had executed an engagement agreement, and he was interviewing people, reviewing documents, including senior management and board, although I hadn't yet been contacted. I don't know if anyone else had been contacted. We have not, as a board, considered this matter. He specifically referenced what he called the core allegations of the IRO report and was asked to do an independent review. The form, he said some report, the form had not yet been determined. I asked him if there was a budget for this independent evaluation that he was undertaking. He said there was no budget that was established. So there was no budget and no report and no timetable for any report to be produced. He said he had not considered whether Lynn Barrett had the authority to act. When I asked him if he had thought about that concept, since again this board has the authority to oversee general counsel and to authorize investigations, and I advised him that he may want to stand down on that investigation pending board clarification, which I think is consistent with what you're telling us, that the board must act as a whole with regard to any action the board wishes to undertake.
That's true as to action, but an investigation is not necessarily action, sir. So that's where I disagree with you. Any committee under the bylaws has the authority to investigate either on the authority of the chair, the board, or on its own authority. That's in your bylaws.
Okay, and
the general counsel, let me finish, and then, because I'm not here to argue with you, I'm here to try to answer questions. And general counsel under Roman numeral 5-7, particularly subsection B, has the authority to direct and control legal affairs of the district. It's true that general counsel answers to this board. General counsel can be hired and fired by this board, but general counsel has the authority, because general counsel acts just like the CEO does of general counsel's management area. And so general counsel has the authority to undertake that investigation. And if I misspoke in my letter that Commissioner Gregoire reported on that investigation, and I apologize, but I was under the impression that she had reported someone about it. And if I'm wrong, I apologize. But there is authority to do that. And if for somebody to, one board member, to then say cease, that's when one board member is micromanaging or possibly interfering. That's where we may have a difference of opinion as to where this sits. I understand. There's always, just so you understand, and it's not easy, there is always a tension when you talk about governance, between oversight and management, there is always a tension. And it is not a totally bright line. I think it's a pretty clear line under this enabling legislation as amended and under your bylaws, but it's not a bright line.
Okay, but you'll agree with me that the segregation in the charter deals with management reporting to the CEO.
Not only, read the prior two sentences, sir.
Which section are you referring to?
I'm talking about in section 5, subsection 2. I have it here, and I'll be happy to here it is.
It is in the finding of legislation is not in the public interest for any member of the board.
It is in the
commissioners
that
to operate in the perceived role of management while simultaneously exercising the charter oversight duties contemplated by the creation of this special act. It is therefore the intent of the legislature that the Board of Commissioners only exercise its oversight function as a whole body and not through the actions of any individual commissioner. It is also the intent of the legislature that there be an explicit segregation of duties between the functions of operational management of the district and oversight by the Board of Commissioners. Except for purposes of inquiry or information, a member of the Board of Commissioners shall not give direction to or interfere with any employee, officer, or agent under the direct or indirect supervision of the President/CEO.
So the sentence before except is a broader thing, that the board shall not interfere with any management. And
is general counsel a management?
General counsel manages the legal affairs of the district. Yes, it does.
So what's the legal support for management being for a general counsel being considered management within the context of this statute?
General counsel, number 1, does that, and general counsel under your bylaws directs and controls all legal affairs. That's management.
Okay, well the question then becomes, is this a legal affair or is this a compliance matter? Because if the IRO report is under our corporate integrity agreement, then it's a compliance matter. It's probably the IRO is a requirement of the corporate integrity agreement.
I agree with you, but it's probably both, sir.
Okay, so when I asked that our compliance officer also directs to the board or reports to the board,
that's correct,
whether he was aware of this investigation, he said no. He said he had no notice this investigation had been undertaken, and that his first notice of it was on September 4th when he was being interviewed himself by this outside law firm. So if it's a compliance matter, then why is our chief compliance officer involved with it and making that decision together with our general counsel? There's just no reason why that would happen.
I can't speak to that, sir. I can't speak to that.
I don't think anybody could speak to that. And when you compound that with the fact that we had a board meeting and committee meetings in the intervening weeks between me finding out about this evaluation, this investigation that had been undertaken, and the initiation of this investigation, we have to wonder as a board why we were not advised of this. Why there was not a shade session called to advise the board as to the fact that there was an investigation that was necessary, if it was indeed something to be handled in the shade as opposed to the sunshine. So there's a lot of questions surrounding what this investigation is and who has the authority to undertake it and what the objective is and what it's going to cost the taxpayers of this county. And that's something the board, as in its duty of oversight and independence, needs to know. And that's what we need to determine as a board. I think each of these board members should be offended by the fact that this is going on and that we did not hear about this. We did not hear about the IRO, the matters in the July 23rd IRO report until that report came out. And yet we had board meetings while that was going on. And while our general counsel and our chief compliance officer knew those issues were being investigated by the IRO, but yet did not inform this board that those things were going on. So again, there's a lot of questions that we have, and when you compound that with the multiple failures of our general counsel to even perform the most rudimentary tasks, it's very frustrating when I find out that I can't get information from our general counsel, I can't get a legal memo from our general counsel, but yet she's traveling somewhere and she's doing this investigation, which is arguably not even within the scope of her authority. And the review of our general counsel is something that is long overdue by this board and that we need to be undertaking. And that's, I think, underlying some of the aggravation that you're hearing today with regard to the millions and millions of dollars being spent without very little oversight and almost no reporting by the general counsel to this board.
Well, sir, I'm only hearing